Okay, I've pulled together a bunch of papers that I think will probably work and look nice in the journal for my sister. I have similar papers in the journal I'm making for myself, but a few different ones. Now, because she was a seamstress, I had this. It's paper that you use for instructions on making an outfit, couture, du couture. Anyway, some French there, some Spanish over here, and English over here. And it came in a package with around something else, and I saved it. Why, I didn't know, but now I do. Anyway, I'm going to stick a little bit of this in her journal since she's a seamstress most of her life. Here's a couple of coffee dyed sheets. And this is all going to go into an 8.5 by 11 journal. Opened up would be 8.5 by 5.5 folded. And this is a piece of Japanese rice paper I've had for many years. And you can get rice paper probably at your local art supply store, unless you have a Japanese retailer in your area. Here's another piece of Japanese rice paper, and this has a lot of beautiful, I don't know what it is, but pieces of bark or something. Anyway, some foliage that is embedded into the paper. You can buy these by the sheet, depending on the type. They come in different sizes, but usually quite large, and then you have to cut them down. As I said previously, she's not a person who journals, and so I will be filling her journal full with imagery as opposed to leaving a lot of space for journaling. And here's just some contemporary printed paper, made to look like vintage. This is a little bit thicker paper than the rice papers, and so it's perfect for gluing images to, or pockets or tucks and other ephemera. You need papers that are a little bit sturdier. So these are about 24 pound, I imagine. I bought some of this off the internet. And here's some by a different company. I guess we went quite orange as we moved along. I think this will, these will blend nicely with the cover that I made for her. And I discovered that this particular style apparently is not really a card, a money card for wedding, but it's on here and it's going to stay on here. And I will put a link in the description box to not only this card, but one that is labeled a wedding card, so you can see the difference. Obviously, I'm not going to tell her might not have anything at all to do with weddings. But this is also a memory journal. It's not just about weddings. So I'm fine with having that. Okay, this needs to be cut down, obviously. So let me get a sheet of standard paper here. And I think we'll go cut from that side. What do I want? I think I would like the writing, if possible, to read this way rather than be on the vertical. So I think I'm going to cut it like this. Get as far away from this little torn edge as I can. And this way the printed text will be readable, though some of it is bound to get covered up with other ephemera. Now I've trimmed everything to 8.5 by 11, unless it's just really too small. I usually don't put smaller pieces in my journals like so many people do. Just a personal taste. I kind of like the uniformity, and particularly when it's a little more formal artistic journal. This is definitely not what you would classify as real junk journal. It's an art journal and a little more formal, and so it's also why I'm choosing to more cut my edges rather than tear them. But of course, you may do as you like with yours. Okay, I've got that sized now, and so we'll just, I think because it's so beat up a little bit and whatnot, I'm going to distress it a bit more. And that way you don't really notice the imperfections that you started with. So this is going to feel like it was just rescued from the trash bin. So I guess you would call that junk, but it's only going to be this one piece that I will include in there, and it's because it's pattern paper, and I think she would get a kick out of that. It's the only piece of pattern paper I have. Alright. Makes me wish I had saved all the pattern kits that I've had through the years. I would have some really great Vogue pattern. That was my favorite manufacturer of all. But of course, who knew I would wind up doing this? So I like to have a piece that kind of acts like a cover and is very attractive to start out a signature. And so I think I'm going to start with this. I think that if you have this and you open it up, it would be very nice to see that. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I want to sprinkle different types of papers around. Got quite a few of these planned, so I'll start it out with one of those, and then I think I'll go with a coffee dyed sheet and maybe stick this in. One of these. Maybe this. That will have to be trimmed off. And put another one of these in. These nice white sheets. And another one of these. Maybe we'll stick that. No, I think I may. No, I'm not going to save it for the middle. And so we'll do a coffee dyed. One of these. This is tracing paper. Oh, I forgot. So let's count what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, I think we wound up around 16, though some of those are very, very thin. So what I forgot is that I want to include some of this Japanese stationery I have, but I want to include sheets that read well once they're folded and that blend with our overall color scheme. So if that was folded, that could work. What does this look like? If this, ooh, that would be beautiful. Folded, and not on the other side. Okay. So this is a definite. I'll think about that one. That's kind of going the wrong direction, as is this. Here's a nice one, blends beautifully with that. So, okay, we've got a mountain scene there, but I think that we could go with that. And what if we did this? And then that's the back page. Yes. And this might glue down nicely against that one. And okay. I get this up here where you can see it. I don't want to use ones that are too directional, that aren't going to look that good if folded in half. For instance, this, you know, you don't want to fold something like that in half and have someone open up to a page that looks like that. So I'll stick these back here. Maybe if I can come up with 2 more that I can glue back to back. That could maybe work. Here's our cover. That would be very pretty. And that would look nice, folded in half. So that's a keeper. I guess we're back to the beginning. And here's one that's a little different. So if this would be folded, and then that would be the back side. Okay, what if we did this? That's nice. And then that's the reverse side. Okay. That is going to work out just nicely. So we'll add 4 sheets that will actually make, instead of making 8 pages, it will become 4 pages once they're glued back to back. I also have, this is for later when we come to decorating the interior. I'll save that for then. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. I have this sheet. That'll make a really nice right-hand page. And then you open it up and you'll see this and that. And then for these, this will be my right-hand page. And then folded, it'll look like this, and you open it up to this. That will be beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those together right now, and then work them into the stack. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're working on a journal of your own along with me, and having a ball. I'm really enjoying this. Of course, I have a strong affinity to anything Japanese. I have a lot of Asian furniture. Well, I have furniture from around the world. I'm very eclectic in my home, and but I'm also very drawn to Japanese. Although you wouldn't, you kind of wouldn't know it if you were in my home, because it's very French country, and I just mix a lot of things together. I'm sure a designer coming in would be mortified at the tremendous mixture of styles and finishes, but I like it. And that's what happens when you're decorating a home over a really long period of time. Your taste changes, and or maybe you decide what you've had is dated and you want to update into colors that are popular at the present time. So I think those are the most interesting homes to go into, are homes that were decorated and changed over time. And you wind up seeing the whole personality of the homeowner and how they have, how their taste has changed over time, and how, maybe it's a reflection of travels they've gone on and various artifacts, accessories they've collected from places they went, or also gifts that have been given to them by family or friends. And, so that's how my home looks. A journey of 1,000 years. And let that dry for a minute. And I'm going to, this is rather thick now, and I think that the glue is still a bit wet. So I think I'll score this a bit. What is our measurement here? 10 1/4. So these are going to be short. So we're looking at 5. Our halfway point is 5 1/8. Yep. All right. Okay. Now, I think I just found a perfect one to use in the center. I think I'll go with this one. And then I'll put the other one somewhere up earlier, or maybe right in there. Okay, let's just do a quick flip through and see how it's going to come together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think that's going to make a really nice full signature. This is only a one signature journal for my sister. I probably will do maybe a few less pages per signature in my journal because there will be 2 signatures, but I want to have hers nice and full. So I think this is what we're going to be doing. And all right, I had to stop for a minute and collect my thoughts and decide which way I was going to bind this to the cover. I could do the Midori style, which would be very appropriate. It's a Japanese way of binding, and I'm obviously doing a Japanese style journal. But I've decided instead to do the standard method instead. I will wind up with a piece of off-white embroidery thread that will show back here, and if I decide I don't like that, I can easily cover that over with another little piece of lace. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just a little hesitant. In the Midori style, you've got to be able to get your eyelet to go through the whole spine, 2 up here and 2 down here. And with this lace, it just made it a little bulkier there, and I'm worried about the eyelets not quite reaching all the way through like they should. And so I don't want to take a chance, so I'm going to do the standard style instead. I do have another video already on the channel. It was the Amazon Jumbo envelope series where I did the Midori style of binding. So you can look that up. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description box below in case you're interested in looking at that binding style. But I won't be using that for this one. Now what I did do is I took a piece of black cardstock, folded it in half, and I'm going to use that as my trimming guide because I obviously have a lot of overhanging stuff on here that I don't want to keep, and I would prefer to trim away some of this before I actually adhere it to the journal. I have put a new blade in my, I think it's new, a new blade in my cutter, and so I'm going to use the black cardstock as my guide and trim off this side, trim off some of the top and the bottom, and then we'll fit it in the cover and make sure we're smaller than the cover so that nothing is seeping out. And if you've seen me do this before, you know that when you're doing multiple sheets, you don't want to try to cut through everything in 1 or 2 passes. You want to take it slow, use a little bit of pressure, but not an undue amount of pressure, and just keep going through it until you finally get all the way through. Now down here, I'm a little off, and so I've got to trim a little bit more off the bottom so it lines up with my straight edge. Okay. That's maybe as good as we're gonna get. Maybe I'll try it from the reverse side. No. I'm gonna work on it just a little bit more. I'm not quite happy with how clean the cut is. I've got some pieces that are kind of hanging out. I think I'll stand up and trying to press right up against the straight edge. Still have a few pages in there that, you know, it's just old and it's kind of crumbly in places, but that's sort of the nature of it, and I'm not going to distress over it. Now I have made every page line up at the bottom except for 3 pages that are much smaller, and I want them to be more in the center. So I put my clamps here, maybe even get out another one to make sure everything stays together. And you want to have made sure by, you know, jousting it a little bit like this, that the folds of each sheet are down as far as they will go and as close to the center. And now the black cardstock folded in half should wind up being exactly the size of the journal, which I may need to just trim everything down, but we'll see. I don't want to go just trimming stuff off now smaller than the cardstock until I've, you know, given it a test drive in the journal itself. I just want to clean up all of the edges as best I can first, because it's just really hard to tell where you're at if you've got some pages that are quite a bit oversized and hanging out there making everything look awful. Okay. A little jagged up here due to the nature of some of the papers. I'll turn it over and see if I can clean that up a little bit. That helps some. Okay, let's see now how everything is going to fit into our cover. And if I get it positioned right in there, it's going to be rather perfect, and I don't have to trim off more. But I think because this is a handmade product and it's always a bit difficult to get things adhered perfectly, I'm just going to trim off a little less than a 1/16 of an inch off the top and the bottom. I think I'm okay on the width. But I just prefer I don't have pages sticking out the top or the bottom. This journal is a bit more formal, you see. Okay. Oh, that's much cleaner. And I'm really cutting up my surface there. Let's try doing this. Protect that a little bit. So I'm going to take off just a hair off the bottom as well. And hopefully that cleans up all the pages. And that's cleaner. We're just a little messy out here. Maybe I'll just take a hair off that part too and see if that helps clean that up a bit. A little bit more. Right now it's just even with the edge. So let's just take a hair off. and it's better. It's much better. And so let's just double check again. Stick that in there, and you see it's perfectly sized to go in there very nicely and not stick out top, bottom, or side. Alright, got to clean up here a bit. Made quite a mess. Wonder if there's something I could do with that. That's kind of cool, don't you think? Like a little bird's nest. Something like that. Oh. My husband complains that I am out to save everything. I'm the world's biggest hoarder. I don't think so, but you can see how my mind thinks. I always look at everything now and think, what could I do with that? Do I really want to throw it away, or can I make something of it? All right. I'm going to designate this black cardstock as a cover template. So I can use it again. But mostly so I don't use it thinking I have a full 8.5 by 11 sheet, because I've cut into it and it's slightly smaller now. Okay. So now literally comes the part I hate, and that's getting the holes in. For some reason, even as careful as I am, I wind up getting holes not quite in the middle. And I can't afford to have that happen in this journal. So I think at this point I'm going to wrap this one up, and so I can figure out a system whereby I can be guaranteed that when I punch my holes in the middle back here, that it's also the middle here. And I've got to figure out how to solve this problem. I'm sure I'm not the only one having it, and I haven't seen anybody discussing this, so I'll have to figure it out on my own, I guess. So, with that said, this is Miss Starling calling this a wrap, and I hope that you'll join me in the next segment as we continue to make these beautiful Japanese wedding memorial journals. And I'll see you then. Be sure and check my Etsy shop, subscribe, and so that you'll be notified of all future videos. And I thank you, and this is Miss Starling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.